Hello everybody, this is Miss Nancy at the Clearview Library District and I am here to do Clearview Homeschoolers Academy with you. Today we are doing kitchen science. I had a really fun time putting this one together, so I hope you guys have as much fun doing it. I'm going to go through your kit first of all and go through a couple things that are in your little handout before we get started. And first of all, I wanted to remind you that the museum in Windsor does a collaborative program with us. So it is on Thursday, the 18th of November, and they're doing Kitchens of the Past. So you'd be able to go through the historical museum and see kitchens of the past and learn about the equipment and the kinds of foods they made. And then you'd be able to go to the art museum and make a little tiny polymer clay pumpkin pie, which I think sounds very fun. So I want you to make sure you're reading this little part down here, adults, so that you can make a reservation to go to the museum to do the collaborative project with us, okay? Now, I think maybe the best thing to do now is to just go over a few of the things you're going to need to remember when you do your experiments today. You are going to do 3 experiments, and it's going to be super fun. And I was going to go through and do the experiments, and then I realized that if I do the experiments, you will already see what happens, and that won't be near as much fun for you. So I'm not going to do the experiments. I'm just going to clarify a few things, show you some of the equipment you're going to need, and just go through the handout with you so that when you do it at home, you're going to be ready to go. I would recommend that you don't do your experiments as you're watching me, but wait until it's over. And then if you get stuck, you can go back and watch again, but then you can just concentrate and have plenty of time to do your experiments on your own time. Okay? So I want you to remember that you are going to make a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is a guess as to what you think is going to happen in that experiment. So that's one thing you're going to need to do. And you can just talk to the adult, talk to the other kids in your family, whoever's doing this, and figure out that hypothesis, and then you can write it down in your handout. Okay? Now, since these are actually science experiments, and this is true a lot of times when you cook, you need to measure really accurately, okay? Remember that. You don't just put a pinch of this and a pinch of that in, because you might have a real mess, or you might blow up your kitchen, which we wouldn't want to hear about that one. Okay, so make sure you're measuring really accurately. Okay, remember that when people do science experiments, they don't always work out the way you want them to. And they're called experiments because you're trying to see what's going to happen, but it might be unexpected. So if anything absolutely flops, it's okay. That's part of science. It doesn't always turn out perfect the first time you do it. All of these experiments are things you could do again. And we hope that you'll enjoy that because I think some of them are ones you might want to do again. Okay? You're going to use a lot of kitchen tools. Number 1, you help clean up the kitchen when you're done. Okay? Don't leave it all for the adult in your house because you're going to use quite a bit of kitchen equipment. And accept the help of the adult in your house if you're using the stove, if you're using hot water, those kinds of things. They can help you measure. It's things like this that you can do together. And so that's a really good thing. Please accept their rules about what goes on in the kitchen. If they think they need to be helping you, then they need to help you. Okay? Okay? Okay, let's get started. We're going to look through the kit, and we're going to make 3 different piles for the 3 experiments. This is my kitchen equipment that I brought from home. So we'll go through that after we go through the kit. Okay. You have a Capri Sun. Do not drink it. I mean, it's perfectly okay to drink, but you need it for an experiment. We're going to put it in the number 2 position because it's the second experiment we're going to do. A dropper. I love these droppers. That's the first experiment. We're going to set it over here. So over here is experiment number 1 for us. Okay? What else? 3. Not 1, but 2, 3 packages of hot cocoa mix. That's experiment number 3. We're going to set it over here. Okay? Now's the fun. This one says sugar. We're going to set it with the Capri Sun. No, we're not. Ah, see, scientists make mistakes. It actually goes over here with the droppers. You guys, I messed up. Capri Sun goes over here. Sugar goes in number 2. I'm sorry. Okay, I think we're straight. Number 1 so far, Capri Sun, a dropper. Number 2 so far, sugar. Number 3, the cocos. Okay, let's keep going. Here is Agar Agar. How many of you have ever heard of Agar Agar? So we really maybe had heard about it, but we didn't have a clue what it was. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I want you to look it up. Now, the adult in your house might know what it is. It might be something that you guys cook with. I've never cooked with it, but it's fascinating stuff. Okay? It's going to go with experiment number 1. And I am sure about that, honest. Okay? Baking soda. Okay? Now, if you're going to use baking soda, remember, baking soda and baking powder are not the same thing at all. This is baking soda, and it's for experiment number 2. And I'm sure about that too. Okay, and in here we have a lemon. Okay, that goes with experiment number 2. And we have 3 cups. They go with experiment number 3 because number 3 has 3 of everything. But we're going to borrow one of them when we do number 2. Okay? And then we can use it for 3. Okay, now we're going to go through each experiment and figure out what tools from your kitchen you're going to need. Okay? For experiment number 1, it says on your list you need the Agar Agar, a Capri Sun drink, and a dropper. Those are the things in your kit. But from at home, you're going to need cooking oil. Now, I didn't get cooking oil out because I'm not completely going to do it, but you will need cooking oil, and it can be corn oil, vegetable oil, canola oil. I would not recommend olive oil because it does have a flavor, and you might not like the combination of flavors there, okay? But any kind of liquid cooking oil. Okay, measuring cups. You're going to definitely need measuring cups. And you're going to need them for all of the experiments, every one of the experiments. So make sure you have them. Make sure you rinse them a little bit between. I have a 1-cup one. I have a 1/3 of a cup one. So how many of these would go in a 1 cup? It's a 1/3 of a cup, so you would need 3 of them to make 1 cup. And then I have a cup. So how many of these would you need to make 1 cup? You would need 4, absolutely. Okay, measuring cups. We're going to put them here to start with, but remember, we're going to need them for a lot of the experiments. We're going to need measuring spoons also. That's kind of very, there they are. Okay, and I have a 1/2 of a tablespoon. I have a 1/2 of a teaspoon. Now you do need to make sure you're knowing the difference because a tablespoon's big. A teaspoon is not so big. So make sure you watch the difference between them. I also have a 1/2 of a teaspoon and 1 whole teaspoon, measuring spoon. Okay? Okay, let's see what else. A tall glass, definitely. Come on, tall glass. A tall glass. This is the tall glass that you are going to pour your oil into. Okay? Okay? Candy thermometer. Now, you might not have a candy thermometer at your house. I know a lot of families do, but a lot of families don't. If you don't make candies that you have to use a thermometer for, you might not have one. We'll talk about what you can do if you don't have a candy thermometer. That's for experiment number 1. A bowl. Oh my goodness, my bowl is clear up. So I'm going to unload some stuff, throw some stuff out of the way so that I can get at my bowl. Okay? This is plenty big, and this is for experiment number 1. Okay? Now, we're going to divvy out all the equipment, and then we'll go through each experiment, okay? So let's go on to experiment number 2. That's right here. And you're going to want a cup like this, so a drinking cup, and a spoon. For that, you need to have a lemon, baking soda, and sugar. You're going to need to have some cold water from your house. You're going to need a juicer. Now, this is another thing you might not have at home, and if you don't, I'll show you what you can do instead. We're going to put that there also. Okay? A glass, we got that. A spoon, and you'll need measuring spoons again. Okay? That's experiment number 2. Okay. Experiment number 3, you need the 3 packages of cocoa, the 3 cups, except you'll use 1 for over here, and then you'll put it back. And from home, you'll need measuring spoons again, measuring cups, right here, okay? A stopwatch and a timer. The adults in your house probably has one on their phone. You might also have one on your stove. So look around. Now, if you don't have a stopwatch or timer, we will talk about what you can do instead. Okay? Okay, are we ready? So we are going to start experiment number 1. And experiment number 1 is juicy spheros. Now, if you've ever been to an Asian restaurant or a tea shop, you might have had a bogli tea. And these are kind of similar to the little round gelatinous balls that are in a bogli tea or a bogli drink. Okay? But they're really fun to eat too. Oh, a few more things. Strainer for number 1. A whisk for number 1. And a saucepan for number 1. Okay? And I have a knife here. This is something the adult will need to help you with. It's for the lemon. I'm going to put it over with number 2. Okay, now we really are ready to get started, okay? Okay, so when you make your boglis, you are doing a change of matter. The matter is going to go from being a liquid. It's going to have a chemical reaction with the Agar Agar. You're going to add heat on your stove, and it's going to change the base of what you have. It's going to go from a little gelatinous ball. Okay? So you have 2 things. It's a change of what the shape is like. It's called spherification. And there's going to be a chemical reaction. So 2 really interesting things happening there. Okay? You are going to fill this tall cup glass, not all the way full, about to here, maybe an inch from the top, with your cooking oil. And then you're going to take it to the freezer. And you're going to put it in the freezer, and it needs to be there for 30 minutes. It might need to be there longer than 30 minutes. So this is the first thing you're going to want to do, is grab a tall glass, put oil, pretty much full enough white, and take it to the freezer, set it somewhere where it's not going to spill, it's not going to tip over, and let it get super, super cold. You do not want it to get cold enough that it freezes. And some oils will never freeze, but some will, and you don't want it to get that thick. You just want it to be super cold. Okay? So pour in the oil, run to the freezer. Okay? That's your first thing you're going to do. Then you are going to take your Capri Sun, and you are going to measure exactly 1/3 of a cup. Okay, 1/3 of a cup plus 1.5 teaspoons. So you're going to use 1 teaspoon and 1/2 of a teaspoon. And you're going to put those things in your saucepan. And then you are going to add exactly 1/4 of a teaspoon of Agar Agar. Now, when you measure something like sugar or baking soda or baking powder or Agar Agar, you can I have a fork here. Yes. Scoop it out, but you don't want it to be heaping. That's going to throw off your experiment. Anytime they're asking you to measure something, they're asking you to measure a level amount. So you could just take a knife or the straight edge of another one of the spoons and make sure that that is absolutely level. And then you're going to put it in that saucepan with your Capri Sun. And then you're going to take your whisk. You're going to put it on the stove fairly low to start with. And you're going to whisk it until that Agar Agar is all mixed into your Capri Sun. Okay? And you're going to mix it and mix it. You want to let it boil. Okay? So that means an adult's going to probably need to help you with that part, because boiling sugary liquids are really dangerous, okay? So make sure you have an adult to help you while that boils and while you keep whisking, okay? You can turn the heat up on your saucepan a little bit and keep whisking it. And once it's brought to a boil, then you can turn the heat off and take it away from the stove. Don't touch that burner. I want you to be super careful around the stove, okay? You're going to let it sit for a little while. Now, if you have a candy thermometer, you are going to put the candy thermometer in, and you are going to want to have it come to 120 degrees. So it's going to cool off a certain amount. So if you have one, you can just put it in there, and you could whisk it every little bit, because that'll help it cool off a little, and wait until it gets between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Now, if you do not have a candy thermometer, this is what I would suggest. This will make you even more of a scientist, is you're going to just try it a little bit at a time. Now, the hard part is your oil has to be in the freezer for 30 minutes. So you might want to do one of the other experiments first, or you might want to take a break, whatever, while this is getting cold before you get started. Okay, but you plan ahead on that one. But then you are going to, once this is the right temperature, you're going to use your dropper, and we love this part. And you're going to push on the dropper in there, and then let go, and it's going to pull the liquid up into your dropper. And then you are going to go like this and drop it all out into the oil. Now, I don't really want to tell you exactly what's going to happen, because I think it's going to be a little bit like magic. So I want you to play with that. If you don't have a candy thermometer, take just a little, drop it in the oil. If it doesn't form a ball, it's too hot. Okay? Give it a little more time. Now, you have to move kind of fast on this part, because we have a hot liquid here, and we have super cold oil here. And after you've done it a little while, your oil is going to start heating up, and it'll stop working. So move quick. Okay? Do it quick. Now, hopefully, if everything has gone okay, you're going to have a whole bunch of little spheres in here in the oil. Now, you don't want to eat them in the oil. That would really be pretty gross. So my suggestion is to pour them into your sieve or your strainer and let the oil go into the bowl. Okay? Now, talk to the adults in your house about what you're going to do with the oil. In your recipe, it says you could put it away in a mason jar in the refrigerator and use it again when you make this recipe again. And you do have enough Agar Agar to do it again. You could try it with mango juice or orange juice. You could actually, if your adult wants to make it with coffee. Somebody told me they made it with V8 juice and use those little spheres for different things. But I think fruit juices are the best choice. That's what I would do. So you might want that oil for next time. If not, maybe throw it in the trash, whatever you guys do to discard your oil. Rinse out your bowl real good, because you don't want the oil clinging to it. And then you can just turn the water, cold water, on really gently in your sink and just rinse these out so they don't have oil all over them. And then you're going to pour them in the bowl, and then what are you going to do? Eat them, okay? Or throw them in the refrigerator and eat them after we're done with all of our experiments. Okay? There's some suggestions on what you can do to eat them, what you could put them on, or you can just eat them the way they are. Okay? Okay, so that is our experiment that involves a chemical reaction and a change in the state of matter, which in this case will be spherification. Okay? Remember that you have little parts on your directions where you write your hypothesis, and then you can write about what actually happened. Okay? Okay. Now, I'm going to put this stuff to the side, but some of it we might need again. There we go. Okay? And we're going to do experiment number 2. Now, experiment number 2 is fizzing lemonade. And fizzing lemonade is definitely something you could make again. And again, you could make it with juice. You could make apple Fizzy Pop. You're basically making soda with fruit juice. Okay? And in this case, we're making it with lemon. Okay? Now, this involves a chemical reaction because the acid in your lemon and the base in the baking soda have a chemical reaction. And if any of you have ever made a volcano that erupts, you mix vinegar and baking soda, this is the same chemical reaction. It just won't be quite as big because this isn't quite as acidic. Okay? So it's kind of fun though. Okay? You are going to cut your lemon in half. Now, you probably will want an adult to help you with that. And then once it's in a half, you just put it over your juicer and just turn it around until all the juice has come out and is down in the bottom. Now, if you have a different kind of juicer, you could just have a bowl underneath. Okay? Then you're going to take the other half and do it again. Okay? That is the juice that you're going to make your fizzy lemonade with. Now, you're going to look at the amount of juice that's in there, and you're going to get approximately the same amount of water in this cup. But I'm going to guess you want to use about to here, and you want your water to be very cold. Okay? And then you're going to add sugar. And you can add a tablespoon at a time to the water and mix it and mix it and mix it. Okay? But don't do anything else with it. Just get it all mixed up and let it sit there. Okay? You're going to pour your lemon juice into the cup you're going to drink it out of, which is this one. And then you are going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, this is also called bicarbonate of soda. And it's the same thing that makes pop fizz. Okay? Now, if I were you, I would just add a little bit of that 1 teaspoon because then you can watch the chemical reaction. You can watch it for a minute and then add a little more and it's going to react again. But I'm not going to tell you what that reaction is like because that's for you to find out. Okay? Once you've got the baking soda and the lemonade in there, and you have the water and the sugar, pour that in there, you might see another little reaction. Stir it up and drink it. Okay? You can describe the taste. Did you get enough sugar in it? Did it need more sugar? When you're mixing your sugar with your water in here, you can test it and see if it got sweet enough for you. That'll give you a kind of an indication, but you don't want it too sweet. Okay? So that one's pretty fun. Then you can drink it and you can describe what it tasted like and what it felt like in your mouth. Okay? So this is a chemical reaction. It's an acid-base reaction. And you probably have done other things where you get that same reaction. Okay? So we're going to rinse out the cup. Put it over in experiment number 3. Okay? Okay, I'm going to move this stuff over. I feel like I'm on a cooking show and it's kind of fun. Okay? We're all done with experiment number 2. There we go. And experiment number 3. And this experiment is about how quickly things dissolve in different temperatures of water. So we're going to make hot or cold hot chocolate. Okay? So you have 3 cups. In one of the cups, you're going to put 6 to 8 ounces, which is almost a cup, of ice cold water. If you have water in your refrigerator, that water will be very cold. If it's coming out of the faucet, let it run for a minute so it's very cold. Pour it in 1 cup. The middle cup is going to be room temperature water, which means that if you run water in the sink out of the faucet and you adjust it hot and cold, an adult can help you with that. And you put your hand in, it's going to be just very comfortable. It's not going to feel cold, it's not going to feel hot, it's just going to feel really nice. 6 to 8 ounces in this one. This one is going to need 6 to 8 ounces of boiling hot water. And the adult can help you do that in the microwave or with the tea kettle. Okay? Okay, cold, room temperature, and hot. And then you're going to put in 1 thing of cocoa in the cold one first. And you're going to stir it and stir it and stir it. And try to time it. See how long it takes for that to dissolve the cocoa mix. Okay? Then you're going to open and, oh, make sure you write it down. Okay. Then you're going to take your second cocoa, put it in room temperature, and see how long that takes you to make it dissolve. Time it and write it down. And then your last cocoa in the boiling hot water. Stir it, see how long, time it, okay? Now you're going to find out what temperature liquid something dissolves the best in. And you will find with the cocoa, you'll figure it out. You could also try this with other things. Like, does sugar dissolve better in cold, room temperature, or hot water? So you could try it with other things and see if it's the same if you want to extend the experiment. Okay? Now, one of these cups is going to be really delicious and ready to drink. One of them will be kind of delicious and ready to drink, and one of them probably won't be very good at all. But remember, if you put it in the microwave or the refrigerator, whichever way you think you need to go, you can make it as good as the one that was perfect. Okay? You can change the temperature. Okay? Now, I hope you have a really good time and are successful in your experiments, and let me know how it went. If you can, adults, please snap a pic. I would love to see pictures. Okay, goodbye.